Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with the Coaches. This is our special edition on women's health, which Kim and I are so excited about. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Holly. I'm the RN health coach for Lenovo here in North Carolina. And my co-host, Kim, in my right-hand corner, I'm not sure where she is for you guys. My lovely co-host, Kim Grady, is also an RN health coach. She serves the Lenovo population in Chicago, some remote, and in Santa Clara. And we do all things together programming for the Marathon Lenovo Wellness Center. So really want to thank you guys for joining us today. This is a really important topic, and we're really excited to be doing it in this fashion. Kim and I are loving Coffee with the Coaches. So, you know, this is super laid back. If you've never joined us before, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So use the chat box, throw out some questions. We may not be able to get to all of them during the conversations, but we will try and get to them at the end if that works for everybody. So a couple of things. I want to shout out to Will. Keisha, if you are on, thank you so much for kind of spearheading the communications piece and getting this really awesome information out to everybody so that they could join us today. So I appreciate you, and thank you everybody from Will and elsewhere across the country. I know there's lots of people around. So with that, I would love to introduce you to all of these lovely people that you see on your screen here. So I'm going to go through, introduce, give a short bio about everybody, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to introduce Katie Peterson first. Katie is lovely long brown hair in the corner. I think you can see her name. I'm going to read her short little bio. She's an experienced strengths-based, that's a hard thing to say, strengths-based counselor, and currently serves as Assistant Director, Career Development in Meredith's Office of Career Planning. She has more than a decade of experience working with students, young and mid-career professionals to identify their natural talents, values, and interests, and developing plans to achieve academic and career goals. Prior to joining Meredith, I don't want to call you Peterson. Katie worked at NC State University and UNC Chapel Hill supporting student career development. She's a nationally certified counselor and a licensed clinical mental health counselor associate. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie. All right, I'm going to introduce Angie Smith. She has the green background. I've known Angie for quite a long time, and she is an absolute rock star. So thank you for joining us, Angie, today. So Dr. Angie Smith is an associate teaching professor and program coordinator for the on-campus and online college counseling and student development program at NC State. She's a licensed clinical mental health counselor, supervisor, approved clinical supervisor, and national certified counselor. Dr. Smith also recently co-authored her first book called Developing Online Learning in the Helping Profession. I mean, really? How appropriate for the time that we're in.
What a great time.
Right? In the helping professions, online, blended, and hybrid models. Thank you, Angie, for joining us today. We appreciate you. Sharon. Yay, Sharon. I think a lot of you who are on today know who Sharon is. She is our NP for the Lenovo Wellness Center here in North Carolina, and we love her. And she did just come back from maternity leave with a new baby. So yay, baby. So Sharon has been an FNP, a family nurse practitioner, for the past 9 years with a focus in preventive medicine and community health. She's been an RN for 17. Showing your age, girl. Sharon graduated from Duke, right? Sharon graduated from Duke University School of Nursing, magna cum laude. Did I say that right? Because that's an American thing. And is working towards her DNP at Wilmington University with a completion date of 12/21, with a focus on provider-led preventative care and vaccination. Thank you. And she does serve as the clinical director for the Lenovo Wellness Center here in North Carolina. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and we have Andrew, the only man in our space today of a lot of people. So Andrew, we appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. We're not going to throw you under the bus today, I promise. All right. So Andrew's a regional consultant for Fidelity Investments within the employee meeting group in North Carolina. Andrew provides on-site educational workshops for Fidelity 401k clients and their employees to help them understand their retirement and investment needs. So thank you, Andrew. We really do appreciate you being here today. So we are going to kick things off with women's physical health. then we're going to move into a mental health, and then we're going to move into financial health. So thank you everybody again for joining us. I am going to hand the reins over to Sharon so she can talk about women and physical health.
All right, guys, if I can get, there we go. All right. So this is, even though there's going to be slides, I try not to make these like formal. So, you know, I always tell people, if you have a question or something, just shoot them in the chat box. And, you know, if it's something that personal that you want to talk about, you don't want to share to everybody, because there are 85 people that are going to be on here. You can, my personal information will be at the end of this presentation. So the presentation is called "The Time for Your Health is When You Don't Have Time for It." And does that sound familiar to anyone, even before the pandemic? So this is just a quick premiere on women's health. Like I said, this is more of a sharing presentation rather than a talking at you. So Holly already kind of went over this. This is me. I'm been a family nurse practitioner for past 9 years, and then 17 years in healthcare. Mostly my focus has been on preventative care, and that is most important right now because a lot of people are lacking getting their preventative care, mainly because your primary care office is closed down and everyone doesn't want to do their physical exam via Zoom. So, let's see if we can get there. So when was your last checkup? And I know this is really small and you can't see it, so there is going to be in the handout section a copy of this as well. And this is just a quick look at the recommended screening guidelines I posted for women. Essentially, all women should have a pap smear starting at age 19 if sexually active, and at age 21 if not sexually active. And that includes any sexual contact. And I won't go any further than that just because of it's a different kind of presentation, so we'll talk about that later. Rescreening happens every 3 years unless something is abnormal. Around age 35, we should all start annual physical exams. Before this, you can roughly have one every 5 years if you don't have any issues. So age 21, you can start having it every 5 years, you know, have a cholesterol check, that kind of thing. Age 35 to 40, you should have a screening mammogram, and that again is if you don't have any family history of cancer, which I'll go over that more in the rest of this presentation. All women should be doing a monthly breast self-exam. Males should also be doing a chest self-examination. So if there's any males on this call and you want to learn how to do that, because men can get breast cancer, just shoot me a message and we'll go over that together. Around age 45 to 50 should start screening colonoscopies, which I know everybody's just looking forward to that. That's the one thing.
I've heard gotten better. I've heard it's not as bad as it used to be, and there's been a long.
Yeah, it's so nowhere near what it used to be. It's still, you know, it's still, you have to go to the bathroom until you're clear. Let's put it that way.
I was just gonna say, I heard the prep piece is worse than the actual exam itself. Everybody complains about the prep. It's like, holy.
You know what?
I always tell people, just take the television and put it near the bathroom and you'll be fine. You can drink now it's just little 2 vials of water and you mix in the prep and you take it and you're done. It's not that big gigantic jug anymore. So so there's no and there's it's called Cologuard, which some people can do, where it's a DNA test now, so you don't have to go through that whole prep, and that's for people that don't have any family history of colon cancer. So there's that one too. So I always tell people there's many options for having your colon cancer screening, and there's no excuses. So continuing on this quickly, so age 60, all women should have a bone density screening. And then some more things on here are interspersed dependent on your lifestyle, your family history, that kind of thing. And I'll go over this later in one of these other slides, but all women of childbearing age, and that starts at, we call it age 18, even though you get your menstrual period at age 12, we won't go into that, but around age 18, you should be taking a high quality prenatal vitamin. And when I say high quality, that doesn't mean Flintstones vitamins. That is not going to do it. And regardless if you're trying to have children, you should be taking a prenatal vitamin. And like I said, we'll go over that later. So it is just a quick little high-level overview that you hear all the time about women's health. So things that we're going to go over in this is heart disease, cancer, mainly the cancers that affect women the most. Not that other cancers can't, but these are the big three. So ovarian, breast, and cervical. Some gynecological health issues, pregnancy issues, because this is the time of year that a lot of women start getting pregnant. It's getting colder, so you are more indoors with your partner, so you get pregnant more often this time of year. That's why a lot of babies are born in June and July.
I feel like this pandemic is going to increase that exponentially, right?
Yeah,
don't you?
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a lot of inside time.
I have 10 friends that are due within a week of me.
Yeah.
See? Case in point.
Let's see, autoimmune diseases. We're going to go over thyroid issues, osteoporosis, and bone health, and mental health disorders. The reason I threw this one in there is because, first off, women are at increased risk for this due to our very nature as the caretakers of everyone else in the family. And then secondly, because there's a pandemic going on. You're the caretaker now for more people in your family at a different level than you were before.
Fact.
And more women are becoming lonely at this time just because of you can't visit family, visit friends, things like that. So heart disease, we'll just start this off. So in the United States, heart disease causes 1 in every 4 deaths among women. So how many women are on this call? One of us in this call is going to have heart disease.
Yeah,
think about
there's almost 100 of us.
So 25.
Wow, 25 of us.
So think about that. It's a big number. And the reason I mention that is because the public considers heart disease just a common issue among men, but it actually affects males and females pretty equally. And about 54% of women don't realize that heart disease is one of the top health conditions that threaten our gender. So in the United States, 49% of all people suffer from high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or are smokers, and all those are factors that contribute to heart disease. So what can women do to reduce our risk? 1, of course, quit smoking. And if you don't smoke, don't start. If someone else in your household smokes, try to encourage them to quit so you don't end up picking up their habit, because we're all creatures of our environment. 2 is pretty much exercise regularly. And when I say exercise, I get the wah-wah, I don't want to exercise. It's more it's more of what I consider exercise is a daily 1-mile walk at a steady pace that will get your heart rate up. And the way that you know that your heart rate is up enough is if you can carry on a normal conversation. You are not walking fast enough. You should also be swinging your arms because that helps raise your heart rate. And during the pandemic, it's hard to get into a gym, and I don't encourage anyone going to a gym right now because just of the COVID pandemic. You can walk around your neighborhood, you can walk around the park and not have people around you and be exposed to COVID. Quick and easy. 3 is just maintain a healthy weight. So one of the things that happens around the time of menopause is hormones start to work against us, and it makes it even harder to lose weight in those stubborn areas like your stomach, your thighs, your hips, this kind of thing where women focus, our problem
energy sources.
Yeah, that too.
Cursed hormones. I curse them. I curse all of them.
Yeah, hormones are kind of rough for women. Guys don't understand. Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, like hormones are the worst.
They govern our lives from birth, unfortunately. They start getting worse as teenage years come, and then they level off in your 20s and 30s, and then by the time that you've decided that you can maintain them, the menopause hits. So,
right.
So if you try to consistently maintain a healthy weight through diet and exercise, the weight shouldn't go up. And, you know, if you get over that plateau, sometimes you'll be able to get that weight off. I always tell people, don't look at the number, look at how you feel. And don't compare yourself to your neighbor or your friend. It's how you feel, because your genetics are completely different from theirs. And lastly, on heart disease, just eat a healthy diet. And when I say that, people go, well, I don't want to eat salads. I don't mean just salads. Salads should be a good part of your dietary intake just for the fiber. But as long as you're incorporating a healthy mix of protein, so skinless chicken or beans or nuts or something like that, along with complex carbs such as fruits and crunchy vegetables, that should help you get your fiber intake, and that should keep your weight down. The other thing I tell a lot of women is choose the lighter dressing and don't douse your salad in it. It should be a topping, not a flavor. So don't soak the leaves. If you can't see the color of the leaves anymore, it's too much.
Funny.
Also, eat less red meat, fried foods. You know, once in a while is okay, but when I say once in a while, I mean like once a month. That sounds like a little strict, but when you're thinking about heart disease, and like I said in the beginning, 25 women out of this group have heart disease. It's pretty high, so you can do things to prevent that from happening. The other thing is manage your stress. Take a moment every day for yourself to just breathe. And when I say that, I tell people 15 seconds of doing nothing is beneficial for your brain. And when I say nothing, I don't mean staring at your phone or staring at your computer. I mean like staring out the window. Nothing. Sometimes there's a commercial that will come on television, and it has like a little timer. It says do nothing for 15 seconds.
Yes, we have
Commercial.
that too. We have it.
Good. The best 15 seconds of my day. Some other things are limit alcohol. We all have that friend that needs a glass of something to wind down each night. I'm that person now that I'm not breastfeeding anymore. But while there's nothing wrong with that, when it starts to lead to problems is when it goes too far. Like you have to have something to wake up in the morning, you have to have something for lunch, and then you have to have something to wind down at dinner. And contrary to popular belief, red wine is not as healthy for you as it has been touted. That person who made that discovery or set up that research lied about it. So if you want that article, just reach out to me. I'll send it to you. It's better than. Yeah,
wasn't it funded by like somebody who makes wine?
Yeah.
Clearly it was.
Of course it's good for you.
Right? If I'm going to have a drink, I'm just going to have red wine because it's better for me.
Mm-hmm. It has less sugar. So if you're looking at, you know, things to drink, you know, white wine's got more sugar than red wine does. And red wine does have resveratrol, but it's not the same that people tout it to be. Like, oh, I can have a glass of red wine every day and it's going to help me not have heart disease. That's not exactly true.
Also, for the record, it's 4 ounces, which is half a cup, which is
Exactly.
a very small amount. Like that's
Right.
when you actually see that in a glass, you're like, wait, that's it? Like that's 4 ounces?
Right.
But that's funny, right? Because you know, when you go to a restaurant, they ask you if you want the 5-ounce pour or the 9-ounce pour. What? 9 ounces? Okay.
That's
You must be going to fancy restaurants. They don't even ask me. They're just like here. Actually, they asked me, "What do you have your ID with you, ma'am?"
Nice.
I'm like, thanks.
I don't have that anymore. That's a good problem to have.
I didn't like it earlier now, and I'm gonna be 40. I'm like, sweet, sure, here. Other little things about heart disease, and I'll get off of this topic because you know, it's just supposed to be high level. Follow your treatment plan. So if your provider has put you on a treatment plan or a medication, take it. We do this for you. We don't just put you on a statin just for our joy. It's for your health. If we put you on a baby aspirin, take it every day. Don't stop taking your medication unless we tell you to. And I'll get off my soapbox about that. Moving on. All right, so quick little thing. These are reasons that you have to go to your clinician. Other than this, you know, most things can be taken care of over a virtual meeting without being seen in person. But these are the times that I tell everyone in general, an in-person visit is necessary to vet out any underlying issues. So as far as women are concerned, any postmenopausal bleeding, any at all, spotting, anything, because that could mean uterine cancer, bladder cancer, endometrial cancer, all kinds of things could be going on that if you're just like, oh, I'm just spotting, it's no big deal, it needs to be checked out. Any foul smelling discharge from your vagina, that is not normal. It can be a yeast infection, bacterial infection. Unfortunately, in these days, it could be a, Lord, an STD. It could be anything like that. It needs to be checked out. Don't try to treat it over the counter unless you've talked to one of us and we're like, oh yeah, it's just a yeast infection, you can take Monicet. You need to be checked out by somebody first. Any lumps in your breast, so any concerning lumps, usually don't have pain, firm, and only on one side. Sorry, concerning lumps are those that don't have pain or firm or only on one side. If you feel your breast tissue and they're just completely lumpy, usually totally normal. It's when you have that one unique thing popping up that just doesn't seem appropriate, it needs to be checked out. Any abnormal weight gain or loss, any bloating, any new irritable bowel symptoms, or night sweats. So when I say irritable bowel symptoms, that's not just a tummy ache. It's more like, not to be graphic, but you know, if I eat something, I have to run to the bathroom quickly. That's not normal. If I wake up and I've soiled the bed, completely not normal. I think all of us here know that these things are not normal. Any irregular or missed periods that have gone more than 3 months, and you know that you're not pregnant, those need to be checked out. Any fullness or bulging from the vagina, this usually happens with women who have had children, because the uterine sac isn't in there like it should be anymore. That requires some checking out a little bit more. Any unbearable pain during intercourse. Intercourse should not be painful. I don't care what sorry Andrew, any guy tells you. Should not be painful. Any leaking or frequent urination should be checked out. It can be more than just a urinary tract infection. Any blood in your stool or in the toilet needs to be checked out. That could be an early sign of colon cancer or colitis. And lastly, any inability to conceive after a year of trying if you're under age 35. If you're over age 35, anything over 6 months needs to be checked out because you're starting to get to that age where you're losing your follicles. And we'll just move right on into breast cancer. So breast cancer, and I know some of this is cut off, so I apologize. I can always send you guys this graphic if you want it. I'll just go over this quickly because I'm running out of time. So breast cancer, women will develop breast lumps. Most of these are non-threatening, but it's important for the women to have each one checked by a care provider. You should check your breasts monthly, ideally after your menstrual cycle and in the shower. So it allows your hands to slide around a little bit easier. And some of the symptoms are posted there, which you can see. And I'll move this along a little bit faster so I don't run into anybody else's time. Ovarian cancers, these are some of the early stage symptoms. And while ovarian cancer starts in the fallopian tube, cervical cancer originates in the lower uterus, which I'll talk about next. Ovarian cancer presents some extremely vague symptoms, and that's the reason I put this here because the condition is pretty complex. So any pelvic pain or feeling full quickly when eating, change in bowel habits, anything like that should be checked out by your provider. And cervical cancer, I just put some of the common symptoms, but bleeding and discharge should be checked out if they seem abnormal. Again, these symptoms are pretty much the same as ovarian cancer, so anything that seems abnormal to you should be checked out.
Sharon, it seems like the summary of this is a lot of things kind of overlap. So I feel like the key to that is finding a good provider that you can have that conversation with and have that like open communication where you're comfortable saying those things so they can kind of wean it out for you. Exactly.
Don't be afraid to mention things that you don't think are important. Mention it to your provider, and a good provider is not going to say, well, that's stupid or that's silly. you know, you need to have somebody that you can have a one-to-one discussion with. So just, you know, anything that feels out of the ordinary to you, just mention it. I've haphazardly mentioned things to my provider, and she's like, "Oh, why didn't you say something earlier?" And I was like, well, "I didn't think anything of it." And I'm a medical provider too, so don't feel silly. Quick little things about pregnancy issues, because I'm running out of time. Any pre-existing conditions can worsen during pregnancy or threaten the health of the mother and child, so it's important to manage these before you attempt to get pregnant. Things like asthma, diabetes, and depression can harm both the mother and the child during pregnancy. But fortunately, with modern medicine, prenatal care has come a long way, and we can treat those issues before they become anything worse. The most important thing you can do for your infant before they arrive is get the prenatal care that's recommended. So autoimmune disease, and the best defense against autoimmune disease is early detection. So this is just a little graphic that it occurs when the body cells that eliminate viruses and other threats to the immune system attack itself. And some of the symptoms of these are exhaustion, mild fever, pain, skin irritation, or dizziness. Any of those can make you just be like, oh, it's due to the pandemic. No, it could be anything else. So some people have gone to natural healing practices such as consuming less sugar, less fat, lowering their stress, and reducing toxin intake. But if you have any of these symptoms, you need to get these checked out by your provider. Kim, can you put up that poll, and then I will wrap up because I don't want to go over anybody else's time.
Sure can. Little audience participation. At what age do we stop making new bone? Ooh, this is a good one. Give everybody a second.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's a really great question to put out to people because of the impact, obviously, that the answer is going to have on us as women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so 37% said 30, 23% said 35, 32% said 45, and 8% said 60. So we're kind of all over.
Mm-hmm. The 23% of you that chose 35 were correct.
Winners.
Everyone thinks that we lose bone construction when we're later years. It starts in your early years. So all those sodas that your young daughters are drinking, take them out of their hands because it's affecting their bone health as they get older. And once you hit 35, that's it. You stop making new bone. Once you hit about 60, it starts breaking down. So you have those years to do up until age 35 plus, 35 to 60 to do trying to get on that screen. There you go. To do the why do I have a brain infarction right now? It's because I'm a mother and I'm not sleeping.
That's right. You get a pass.
Lord. Weight-bearing exercise, good grief.
Yeah.
So doing weight-bearing exercise, and if you don't have hand weights, if you have 2 cans that you can use when you walk with, you'll feel silly, but it will add weight to your thing. I used milk jugs when the pandemic first came on. Works like a charm. So there's some quick little factors that will cause osteoporosis, which the difference between osteoporosis and osteopenia is osteoporosis weakens your bones, allowing them to break. Osteopenia is a midway point to osteoporosis. So factors are age, alcohol consumption. Some prescriptions will do that. So things like prednisone. Keep that in mind, all of you that have asthma and your provider gives you prednisone on a regular basis. Big no-no. Try to go some other route if possible. Genetics, you can't help it if your mom or grandmother, like mine, had rickets. It's kind of there. Lack of exercise, low body mass. Everybody thinks that you have bone issues if you are obese. It's actually the tiny, skinny girls because you're not putting the pressure on your bones. That doesn't mean I want you to go gain a whole bunch of weight. Just if you are in that frame, like the A-frame women, you should focus more on your bone health. And then smoking. The other thing is lack of appropriate calcium and vitamin D in your diet. If you don't get enough sunshine, things like that, you decrease your vitamin D. And while there's no cure for osteoporosis, we can prescribe, treatment to help illness progression not continue, dietary supplements, add on healthy lifestyle choices, or even prescription medication. And then just as a wrap up, mental health, because I know this is what everyone was waiting for. Women are tasked with so many things each day, like I mentioned, both by ourselves and from others. And I always put the focus out to women that, come in the office, that are stressed out. And I said, we're not the weaker sex. I don't know whoever came up with that. We are actually the most stronger sex because we take on so much during the day and wake up the next day and continue to do it again without fail. So natural hormone fluctuations that we have will lead to depression or anxiety. PMS occurs commonly among a lot of women. Other things like premenstrual dysmorphic disorder, which is over and above that, prevents similar, but it's greatly intensified symptoms. And shortly after birth, which goes back to the pregnancy thing, is a lot of women acquire a form of depression called the baby blues. So Kim, get ready. It's something you cannot control. So just prepare your spouse for it. It's emotional shifts, sadness, tiredness. You will cry at the drop of a hat more than you are crying now when you're pregnant. It gets better. But if it continues beyond a couple of weeks, you may have postpartum depression from, thank you. I'm a mom. So tired. You'll have postpartum depression, and that's something that you need to get checked out by your provider. Don't feel silly and be like, oh, it's just because I just had a baby. You need to get checked out and let us tell you, like, no, it's fine, or maybe we need to do something more with some therapeutic treatment. And at that, I will shut up because I am a long-winded talker. But thank you guys very much for letting me take this time today. My contact info is right there, our phone number, and that is the website for the marathon portal. If you want to contact me directly as a secure message, I'll put my email in the chat box for you. Thank you guys very much.
Yay, thank you so much. That was super informative and super helpful, and a really, really great segue into mental health. So we're going to jump right into mental health with Angie and Katie. And I have to read a quote from an article that Angie shared with me a couple of weeks ago, which, there's so many quotes in this article that I just actually don't even know where to begin. And I've shared it with a lot of people, and we have shared it with you. It is in one of the handouts. So the quote is, and the article is called Surge Capacity, or it's about surge capacity and our ability to be resilient, or our inability to be resilient. And so this is one of the quotes. It says, "This is an unprecedented disaster for most of us that is profound in its impact on our daily lives. But it's different from a hurricane or tornado where you can look outside and see the damage. The destruction is, for most people, invisible and ongoing. So many systems aren't working as they normally do right now, which means radical shifts in work, school, and home life that almost none of us have had experience with yet." I was like, honest to God, I have to tell you guys that when I read it, and, just a caveat, we will, talk a little bit about the article, but I know Angie and Katie have so much more to say, and there's so much with mental health and women's mental health specifically. We won't be able to touch on everything, but I really beg you to download that PDF that we've attached and read that article, because this is really a time in all of our lives where our mental health is so, so important. And it's really this pandemic has really brought it to life. So with that, I am going to turn over the reins to Angie and Katie.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Holly. You're speaking our language, as we always do. And thank you for the opportunity, both Holly and Kim, to share with you today in the group. We're so grateful. This is such an important topic, and I'm at the beach right now with a friend, so I'm trying to develop my own social self-care right now. We're quarantining, so if I do delay or anything, just let me know. But I'm really delighted to be here with you all and have my wonderful partner, Katie, co-presenter, kind of share a bit with you as well. But we'd love to just kind of start off today. This is a heavy topic. It's something that we could spend hours talking about. We won't, but we want to make sure that you're aware that this is just a sliver of information, and hopefully will help you be thinking about your own mental health and what that means, particularly in light of the multiple pandemics that are occurring right now in our society. So we wanted to first, though, get a sense of who you are and kind of where you are in your space. And what we mean by that is, where are you in terms of your life roles? And so we want to launch a poll just to figure out kind of, I know that we might have multiple, but what role in your life is most demanding if you had to really kind of put it on a scale that right now in this moment? And so take a moment, and we invite you to select the one that really is very salient for you right now. So we'll pause for a moment and give you a second to go ahead and make your selection.
Is there an all option?
I know, right? We did that intentionally because we figured we might have
right?
one answer that would be the outlier for perhaps everyone.
Right.
Very intentionally designed here, this question.
Of course you are.
Yes.
If the people who are answering other want to put it in the questions or the chat, we'll keep it anonymous. So if you want to share, great. If you don't, we understand as well. Give everybody a couple more seconds to answer.
Fantastic.
All right.
And knowing too that this may shift and change by the day, by the week, by the hour, by the minute, right? So we recognize that as well.
All right, so.
All right. Excellent. So about 50% talking about the worker role. Absolutely. It takes up a lot of our energy, right? And somewhat of, when we think about that part of our identity too, our career identity, it looks like 17% partner spouse, 19% child, friend, 4%, and 10% other. So we really appreciate that, because I think that helps. One of the things we hoped, as Katie and I were talking about, sharing with you all today, is to perhaps normalize the fact that you're not alone in this, and you can see that there's other folks that are experiencing very similar kinds of situations as you. So the fact that 50% of you have indicated that the worker role is something that has been extremely demanding, I think there's a lot to be said about that, right? We don't, but it's important to at least recognize that too.
Yeah, I just want to
thank you
mention,
for taking some time to.
Oh, sorry, Angie, just real quick. We had a couple of people mention, and so just so you know, we only have 5 spots for the answers, so we couldn't put all of the options that Katie and Angie wanted us to in the poll, and parents was one of them. Someone had mentioned caring for their elderly parents, and so we recognize that, especially now, that has to be especially difficult. And one of the other answers was being a mother and a teacher at the same time, which is really difficult, and we hear you.
Yes, and I see you, and I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm a mother, teacher, and teacher, so I all of that, I get that daily and 24/7. So yes, so with you on that. And that's, I think, part of what Holly was saying in the article that we shared with you all, is this idea of surge capacity. And I don't know about you all, but when you think about being in spaces simultaneously, so if you're simultaneously working in the worker role and the parent role, and you're taking care of a parent and you're taking care of a child, all in the same breath, that's not necessarily how we typically would call normal. And so that's where I think a lot of this this conversation is kind of geared toward, is that we're not in a situation right now where this is normal. And so we need to really, I think, speak to that, and also recognize it and be aware that that's the case. So I think that was the first poll we had, and then I guess we can go to the next slide. One of the things that Katie and I really hoped to do as we talk with you today is I told this to Holly whenever she asked if we could come and talk. And I said, please know that we don't have all the answers. Like, it's not like we're going to come in and say, okay, everyone, this is what you can do to make everything better. And here's this crystal ball, and here's this magic wand, and this is what you can do. But we do want to make sure that you know that there is something with regard to knowing that we all have different struggles in different ways, but we all are in this together. And so we wanted to share, as we kind of start out today, that we feel it too. So we're not coming to you and saying, okay, this is what you should do, and then you end the meeting and you'll be great. It's all going to be good. So as we were preparing, Katie and I chatted, and we're like, what should we share out? Like, we need to kind of make this personal. It's supposed to be a chat and coffee. Like, this should be a conversation. And so I had shared with her, not related to this, but she's like, you need to share this. I had told her that one day, about 1 week ago, I was preparing for meetings from 1 to 7 p.m. And during that time, right before that, I got a teacher email that says, your son has been selected to have lunch with his friend. And it's awesome. It's from 12 to 1, and it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic because they get a chance to get together socially. And I'm like, okay, awesome, which means that we got to feed him and he has to have something to eat while he's at lunch, right? So I'm like, okay, great, we'll get that. No problem, we got it. So I'm like, awesome, this is great. So my son's Colton. I'm like, Colton, this is so great. You get to be with your friend over lunch and your teacher. Simultaneously, at the same time, my daughter, who's a 9th grader, starts texting me, Mom, I've been on Zoom for so long and I have this massive headache. Can you get me some medicine? But don't come in because you're going to embarrass me. And so can you put it by the door? And like all these details of trying to get that together. And I'm like, sure, no problem. Got it. I'm on it. So I'm making lunch, getting the medicine, getting ready to go. Next thing I know, my middle daughter comes in and she's like, Mom, I have something very important to tell you. And I was like, what is going on? She goes, do you know that there's discrimination in our society? Yeah, I know we talk about it anyway. It's so important that you need to drop everything. Like, we need to talk about this right now. And I'm like, you are so right. Yes, I do know. And I know you're learning about this in school. And I know that this is so important. And so this in lies, I think, and puts into kind of a microcosm, I think, where a lot of us are, is that we're in 5 different spaces in one moment and trying to attend to multiple needs in one period of time. And so Katie and I were talking about it, and I was kind of saying it like, this is just, so I can't even believe it. Like, I can't even believe this is happening. And so I just wanted to share that out. And then she kind of has a story to share too, because as we started to chat about it, I thought, yeah, this is what we need to talk about. Like, this is the reality. This is the day to day. And we're mental health professionals. So I think it's important to know that everybody, regardless of kind of like the previous presenter, Shireen was talking about, even if you're a provider, it's still happening. And so I think it's important to share that out too. So Katie, I don't know if you want to share your story as well.
So this little guy is George. He just turned 1, which means, and my in-laws graciously are taking care of him in our house every day. So my in-laws are in my house every day, all day. And I, to my left, have the playroom. So I get to listen to Elmo or Little Baby Bums, or right now it's a 24/7 Wheels on the Bus. All day long, and my partner gets to sit and working right now on a folding table from the living room, where he gets to listen to our little angel have his lunch and other meals throughout the day, while also listening to Alexa play Wheels on the Bus. So that is my current reality. Lots of wheels on the bus at the moment. They're going swish, swish, swish.
Yeah, and it sounds like the takeaway from all that is that, you as a person individually, as a woman, are not an island, and that it's just so important to recognize that we are all struggling in one way, shape, or form, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's really what we want to get across again here this morning, is that this is real. And I think Sharon really led us off to reinforce this, that the more and more studies are coming out talking about the broad impacts of the pandemic, and that we are being pulled as women in so many different directions constantly, that there are increasing, each month, week over week, experiences of anxiety and depression, increased substance use, and suicidal thoughts. And we want you to know that you have resources, and there are people out there to help you work through these, and that you aren't alone. 2 in 5 is a huge number. And there are resources out there, and we want you to seek help if you are experiencing these, because there are treatments and things that are available that aren't going to add another thing to your plate.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things we hope too is, I know with Holly and, I think probably Kim too, there's probably things with your employer that are also maybe part of your benefits package, or things that also are right there. It's just maybe not knowing where those resources are. And so I, as well as Katie, encourage you to seek those out, many of which are probably built into packages. And so they're right there for you.
Yeah.
And part of why I think a lot of companies feel that to do that for employees, they recognize the importance of mental health. And so, Holly, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just going to say there are a ton of resources within Lenovo and in the benefits package that we can share with you, all of you attendees, after the fact. So lenovobenefits.com. I mean, really go there. That's where you're going to find everything. So thanks for saying that, Angie.
Yeah, of course. That's my HR background. I was in HR for 8 years. So I was like, I know, I'm sure. I've never worked for Lenovo, but I'm sure that they have a great package and use them, because a lot of people don't know about them, or they don't utilize them to the extent that they could. And they're there, and oftentimes are free. So definitely check that out. So we wanted to also kind of couch this, and I think that Sharon also kind of shared this a little bit too about self-care. And one of the things that I want to just impose upon you as we think about self-care is that can be a buzzword that is sometimes laden with a lot of different emotions and guilt potentially too. So I really want to, and Katie and I were talking about this, we want to kind of share self-care in a different way with regard to thinking about what fills you up. Not something that is a checklist that you have to do to kind of get it done, but thinking about self-care in a way that, what do I really need right now? What does this look like? And so there's an article that we shared with Holly and Kim that that talks about 8 types of self-care. To break it down further, self-care can be really a large topic and can be a lot of different things to a lot of people. But one of the things we hope that you kind of gain from this is that thinking about, what do you really need? And like really pause and think, like, what do I really need? Do I really need sleep? I mean, do I really need to think about, what I can do right now to get that, and maybe not in large chunks of time, but even kind of snack bites. And so thinking about that from this perspective, and this slide goes over the various types of self-care that you might want to consider that maybe you haven't thought about for a while because of what we talked about with the surge capacity. We don't have time and energy to be thinking about all these things. But you might want to think about, and in this article, I really appreciated how they talked about boundaries, setting the boundaries. And that doesn't necessarily mean something that's bad. It could even mean something like, for the social component here to the bottom in this last column, we need to connect. We need to connect with folks and have that relationship. Even with social distancing, doesn't mean we have to, physical distance and social distance. We can still connect with folks. But if we have been on Zoom meetings and Zoom calls for 8 hours in one day, and then you also have another request to do something fun, maybe it is a meeting with friends or something that actually you would enjoy, but you just don't necessarily have the capacity and you're exhausted from that day. Setting a healthy boundary and saying, you know what, I care about you. Can we do a phone call instead? I just don't know if I could be on camera anymore today. Or I need to just take a pass right now, and maybe we can reschedule. And that's okay. I think setting those boundaries is really important for your own self-care, and also maybe even it's a gift to your friends too, because they may need that same kind of support time as well. So all of these things with regard to self-care are just different ways that you can think about how you're taking care of yourself, and it doesn't necessarily have to be all at once. So don't feel overwhelmed by this list. And that was one of the things I don't want to share with you. Oh my gosh, I gotta do all of this, another thing to do, another thing to add. But really kind of taking it into small pieces and steps and thinking about, well, how am I doing today as it relates to my, to my physical health? And one of the things in the article they talked about with physical health is, and I know that Holly, I'm sure, and Kim could speak to this for hours too, but I really liked how they talked about creating a baseline. So don't try to do everything at once. So maybe today is brushing your teeth. Maybe that's what you have today, and that's okay. maybe today is taking a walk for 15 minutes, and that's okay. So pick 2 or 3 things. You don't have to do all of it all the time, because that, I think, can create a whole other host of things, of guilt and sometimes shame, or like, oh gosh, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and then you end up in a spiral, right? So keeping it manageable. And I know, Katie, you're going to say something about this slide too. Oh, go ahead, Holly.
Yeah. Go for it, Holly.
Yeah, I was just going to say part of what they said in the article, they were calling it a resilience bank account, and beginning, if we don't already have a resilience bank account built up,
yes,
basically it's our coping mechanisms and self-care and what that looks like. And it said gradually building into your life regular practices that promote resilience and provide a fallback when life gets tough. The areas that specifically advocate focusing on are sleep, nutrition, exercise, meditation, self-compassion, gratitude, connection, and saying no, which is that boundaries piece of it, right? Yeah, and focusing in on one thing. We don't have to do all of those things because we're already feeling really overwhelmed right now. So having a little bit of grace and self-compassion for yourself.
Absolutely, Holly. I think
daily.
Yeah,
By the minute.
You've absolutely hit on it. And, you know, and those little things that they don't have to take an hour to be able to do. You don't have to find another hour in your day to do that. Can you take 5 minutes, you know, as we think about the intellectual self-care? Can you read something pleasurable, not the news, for 10 minutes before you fall asleep at night, and putting your device down? There's so many benefits to that, but, you know, reading something for pleasure at that time. The environmental self-care, so we're not talking about going and hugging a tree or planting a tree or a plant. I can't keep plants alive, not even a cactus, which you should be able to keep alive, but I cannot. I'm hoping for my son is good that can do better there. But the environmental piece really is your physical space. And I think that is even more important now when we are holed up in our homes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even thinking about your workspace, if we're sitting on Zoom, I know Holly was talking about her physical workspace, and I was sharing that mine, I have an elliptical over to one side, I have amplifiers over to another, you know, but is there a piece of art or something that makes you happy that you can put in your physical space that is going to allow you to take that mental break? I know Angie was talking about, okay, my environment piece, I need to make my bed. I can't say that that's not for me, or I haven't mastered that yet. So maybe I'm gonna add that to my goal list. But you know, thinking about your physical environment and how does that impact your mental health? I know when I'm looking at giant piles of laundry or giant piles of dishes in the sink, that just overwhelms me, and you know, that is taxing for me. However, as we kind of think about what we do next, and you know, thinking about something that you can let go, I have let go of dusting. My house is dusty, and the dust bunnies are now starting to, you know, become buffalo. So I'm soon going to have to do something about that. But we have to think about, you know, right now, what is something that we can let go of?
Yeah, and so we wanted to kind of add this slide as a reflective piece, and we wanted you to think about, everyone who's on the call, you know, each of us has our own daily struggles. I think it just is a matter of magnitude and maybe degree. And so we wanted to just give you a moment to think about what is one area that maybe is particularly demanding or taxing at this point. And as you think about that example, we wanted to just give you some reflective questions to think about, how can we really work toward, and we may not get there all the way, and that's okay too, by the way. But I think pausing to think about, okay, what's really going on and how is it impacting me on a day-to-day basis? And so as we think about that, or as you have that thought or that one thing in mind, you know, thinking about kind of how Katie said, you know, what's that one thing that you can give up or let go of? You know, maybe if you're someone who likes to have complete order in every single room, that maybe you have one room or a junk drawer or something that you're like, whatever, you know, I can't do that with every room. Or maybe it's when you think about certain that maybe that would be kind of counterintuitive to your health, and thinking about, okay, maybe I eat a lot of chocolate right now, and so maybe I need to like back it up and maybe not have as much chocolate this week, and maybe not give it up completely, but maybe I need to kind of revisit that for my own health. Whatever it is for you, think about that with non-judgment, by the way. So not judging it, but thinking about this is where I'm at, and being open and honest about that. Then as you also think about this from a strengths-based approach, what during this time, I think, every time I've been doing a lot of different webinars, and I keep saying, we're in the middle of multiple pandemics, folks. Like, you're here, you showed up to this webinar. That is astounding. Like, that's remarkable. And we need to kind of own that and say that, because there's a lot happening in our world, in our community, in our families, and yet people are still showing up. And so I think also looking at this from what's helping you to show up, what's helping you during this time to be in this space. And if there's things that you need help with, what do you need help with, and how might you ask for that help? And so these are just things we wanted to pose in that way, to just let you know that you're not alone in this. And there's a lot of people, and hopefully even in this call, that you can know that you're not kind of feeling this way, and you're in your own four walls feeling this way, and that's it. And then connecting with resources. And I know that Holly and Kim have a ton for you too, but we will kind of put it in that way so you can start thinking about that for your own self too.
Yeah,
Angie,
absolutely.
I hear the language you're using, and it sounds to me like you adore Brene Brown, like Holly and I adore Brene Brown, and we talk about her all the time. And like, you're really touching on that, and how being vulnerable, and like, people are nervous to say like, I'm struggling, I need help. But on the other end, we view that as a sign of strength, but like, it's hard for us to play both sides. So I think that's a really good reminder of like, I think all of us enjoy someone saying like, hey, I'm over my head, can you help me? Yeah, sure, I can't wait to help you, but it's really hard for us to ask for help when we need. That's a really good reminder to just be aware of that, and like, name those feelings of despair, those like dark cycles. Like, those feelings all thrive in the dark by themselves, and they just continue to grow. So if you can name them and talk to somebody about it, it makes them disappear.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, Kim, because there's so many things we talk about in counseling, specifically about, why hope is that no one suffers in silence. And I think that's what breeds a lot of what we end up seeing, particularly with the numbers we showed on that one slide, 2 and 5, is that when you're suffering in silence, and we know people do, because of the fact that there's a sense of, like you said, vulnerability, and it's scary to kind of ask, reach out for help, or just not knowing where to go for help is part of it too. And so we hope that this conversation at least plants the seed in that, so that it kind of will help you to think about, okay, I'm not alone. We're in this together. This is a difficult time. Like you said, I love how you said that, Kim, naming it and saying, this is where we are. And even if we can't change it, this is where we are, and we can at least know that we're in it together, and sit with those feelings and kind of accept that, versus trying to put it away or suffer in silence. So,
yeah,
and I'm a
I
huge,
think we tend to bury it because we think it'll like go away, and like, oh yeah, whatever. But then it comes back to bite us. Like, it comes up from like resurrected, and like, is way worse than it was before. So like, I'm really working on getting in the habit of like, this is a bad day. That's okay. Today's a bad day. Tomorrow will be better. Like,
and it's okay to have
that's
bad
awesome
days.
self-talk. Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too, like when we recognize, or sometimes it's hard to recognize what the reasons are why we're feeling a particular way, right? And especially given, the circumstances that we're in. I know I personally have struggled more recently with that, because I'm like, am I bored? Am I angry? Am I sad? I'm not quite sure what I was feeling. And then, and I going back to the article, because I found it so profound. It honestly almost brought tears to my eyes, because I'm like, you just said everything that I'm feeling, but I didn't know that I was feeling it, right? And if I can take a second just to say it, it said, because we're talking about reckoning with the pandemic and all of the changes, and our capacity, surge capacity is meant to be for emergency situations. It's not meant to be for chronic situations. And it said, is in this case, it's a loss of a way of life, of the ability to meet up with your friends and extended family. It is perhaps a loss of trust in our government. It's the loss of our freedom to move about in our daily life as we used to. It's the loss of high quality education or the overall educational experience we're used to, given school closures, modified openings, virtual schooling. It's the loss of rituals, of weddings, graduations, and funerals, and even the lesser type rituals, as going to coffee with your friends or going to the gym. And I read that, and I even have goosebumps now reading it again, because I'm like, oh my God, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's why I'm feeling the way that I am. And it's so important to recognize that and to say it out loud and know that it's okay,
Yes.
right? It's
Yes.
okay. And those coping mechanisms, that you guys were talking about, like self-acceptance and self-care and what works for you and doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for somebody else, are so important. And thank you so much for sharing those. I do want to share with you, a couple of people mentioned, some of the things that they're doing. One, single people are struggling a lot too right now, and everybody is in a different boat and struggling in different ways, and loneliness is a big factor, and we hear you and we hear that. And then, some of the rituals, someone reads, every 10 minutes, reads a book before they go to bed, and it kind of helps settle her down. And if she picks it up, she feels better and more refreshed in the morning, right? So those self-care rituals are really important. And it's just a small thing, but it's a big thing.
It's a big thing. It doesn't have to be for hours. It doesn't have to be, and actually it's almost better if it's not, because you can fit it in. I always call like snack bites. So mental health snack bites, we do that for food, right? So why don't we do it for self-care? If we can just take, I know Katie knows this, I do an orange. Like if I peel my orange, that's like a real day for me. So I have it by my desk, and it's a visual. It's like, I got through my orange today, and that's like amazing, and people may think that's silly, but I'm like, that's a win. Like that is a total win, that I got to eat my orange, I got to peel it. It was multiple steps.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's just little things. Yeah. So, but that's kind of what we wanted to share. I don't know, Katie, if you had anything else too. I don't want to take up too much more time, because I know we have
I know we want to get to Andrew. The last thing I would leave y'all with is, because it is so difficult for us to ask for help, I know it is for me. If I think about asking or giving advice to my best friend, and if you take the advice that you would give to your own best friend, or maybe it's your child or your sister or someone else that you care about, if you take the advice that you would give to another loved one, the likelihood is that that's probably what you need to be doing.
That's so great. That's so great. That's such great advice. I love that. Thank you, Katie. That's awesome. Well, listen, ladies, I hate to cut this short. I feel like we could talk for another hour about this. But thank you guys so much for, being here, for sharing that amazing information. We appreciate you. And, this, just so everybody knows, I know we've had some people drop off the call, but it is being recorded, and we are going to post it to Lenovo Benefits, and we'll share that with you guys. So thank you, Katie and Angie. So without further ado, we want to talk about women's financial health, which we think is really super important to, and you may be questioning why we're talking about women's financial health specifically. So Andrew, I am going to turn those reins over to you.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very, very much. I have learned so much in the last hour. As a father of 2 young girls, I have a lot to learn. As guys, we're not given a handbook, so please be patient with us. Thank you for everyone, Lenovo, Will, for putting this together. Hopefully, my goal is to be brief, be brilliant, and be out of your hair. Which screen can everyone see?
Currently, we see your Fidelity Viewpoints screen.
Excellent. That is the goal. So I'm going to move this over here, and you still, all right. So in general, one of the things, of all the really heavy and important things I learned from Sharon's presentation, the red wine thing kind of stuck. Like, hey, you're telling me that that's not actually healthy. And I think that that is a good illustration as to why this website right here is so important. The internet is the world's information at our fingertips, and it's really amazing. But finding credible, reliable information is much more important. So the way that I trust what Sharon said is much more accurate than the winemaker who said wine is healthy. At Fidelity, our information is designed to be accurate, and we're accountable to you ultimately to be accurate. So when you're looking for information, when you have questions about personal finance, please, please, please leverage the resources you have through your Fidelity partnership. And fidelity.com or fidelity.com/viewpoints, plenty of ways to get there, but this is a little bit of a repository of where that accurate information is. Sharon, don't ruin it for me, but I was also told bourbon is very healthy. So I'm not going to dig into that too much further, but so again, reliable information is much more important than just information. We are going to get into some specifics on women's financial health, but as Katie and Dr. Smith mentioned, a big part of what we're talking about today is self-care, because our health affects really everything we do, whether it's our mental health, our physical health. They have a complementary relationship. Your financials being one part of that pie. I think with all the noise and uncertainty, whether it's politics and elections or once in a generation pandemics, this little graphic, which is available by simply going to searching for Fidelity in best days or going to this exact presentation or going to Fidelity and searching best days, is a nice kind of reminder to really stay the course and block out some of that noise, block out some of that information that's not as reliable and not as accountable to you. So what this graphic is simply illustrating is that, especially with retirement and the long-term savings approach, stay the course. Stay the course. The summary here is in column 1 is an individual that hypothetically invested $10,000 on January 1st of 1980 and didn't change when the news headlines seemed like the world was ending. And since 1980, there have been plenty of things that have happened, good and bad, in our world. And this just shows that if you had missed the best 5 days in that 40-year period, instead of having account growth of nearly 700,000, you're closer to 450,000, and so on and so on. So one of my goals for today is to simply help you have the confidence of knowing that in the long run, you do want to stay the course. Don't overthink it. Don't worry as much as the TV tells you to. There's a lot of help out there.
Andrew, I think one of my favorite parts of finance is those compound interest calculators that show you, like, if you contribute, like, this is what'll happen. I think that's how, like, I personally got my retirement on track, because I was like, wait. You're telling me if I contribute every week, I'll be a millionaire? Okay, fine. You can have XYZ of my money. Like, you can take it. I'm sure Fidelity has one. I know, like, they're all over the internet, and you can just type in what you weekly contribute, and it's
They are, Kim, and really, finance can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. With some of the things that are more powerful out there, time value of money or compound interest really is one of the most popular, one of the most powerful. And the quick skinny on what compound interest is that if you were to save $100 this year, that market that gets a 10% rate of return, hypothetically, your $100 made you $10 new. Now next year, that $10 is still going to work for you. So is the 100, but that 10, if that gains $1 and that dollar gains 10 cents, and it all snowballs over time, this is really where your long-term account growth comes from. And it's just nice to know that, again, staying the course, putting time to work for you is one of the best ways to take the uncertainty out of, will I get to where I want to be? So I will show you at the end of our window, I'll show you a little bit about your homepage. And if you haven't logged into your Fidelity 401k, you can do so through Lenovo Benefits. Please do. There's so much helpful information. And at the very least, make sure your beneficiaries are up to date. So your beneficiaries, I'll show you where to do that. But if you don't know if they're up to date, that's even more of a reason to, when you have a moment, after your 15 seconds of calm, please, please, please log in and do so. So back to the Fidelity Viewpoints page, again, a repository of some really great information on just about any financial topic you could possibly hope for. You see here right now on the bottom right, there's under special reports, women and money. And again, there's just a lot of great topics here. We do regular webinars. I know that these dates have already happened, but you'll notice here that they are available on demand. So if you do have more time, if you're having that glass of 4-ounce wine and you want to deepen your financial knowledge on your time, there are some great resources right here. But this whole page has just a lot of information for everyone, because there was about 100 folks on today's call with us. Everyone's a little bit different, right? So something that might be important to you today might not be as important to your colleague or to your teammate or to your best friend at work. But there's a couple of really great things here. Again, you see insights for women from women, women talk money, investing, saving for retirement, living in retirement. That's another big one. You spend all that time accumulating, now what? Family and money. I know that my wife's the frugal one in our household. I'm the reckless spender. So it's always nice to know that these financial conversations you're not in it by yourself, and you have help. And the more you get your team on board, the better off your success will be. So I did want to share just one of those many articles. It was the 3 ways for women to boost financial security. And then we'll head to the website, which will look like your 401k. And I love how this starts off with key takeaways. And it right there, no matter how you feel about your finances right now, it's possible to take charge by developing a comprehensive plan for money. And on the vein of today's conversation, largely centered around health, getting to financial wellness isn't as simple as having that one salad. It's about the long-term gradual impacts that you make and the gradual changes you make over time, those lifestyle changes, those long-term decisions that do help over a long period of time, help get you to where you want to be. And it's in moderation. Because if you say today, Andrew, that's great, I'm going to save 100% of my paycheck for retirement. Well, that's not realistic. And by the time the next paycheck comes out, you're going to want to undo that. So it's all baby steps, all small incremental changes. You have time, and here's some information that can help you out. But just like your personal health, you have to make it a priority. And if you truly want to retire a certain way, making it a priority, there are ways that we can help you out. And this website is simply one of those. So again, a lot of information here. The 3 main areas of opportunity are have a financial plan. Similar to a diet, similar to financial health, similar to keeping the kids at bay during the day while you and your spouse might be trying to work. Have a plan. Is there an agenda? Do you know who's in charge of dinner tonight? Is one person in the household going to do everything? Or in my house, typically I work the meat station, my wife works the vegetable station. We play to our strengths, but we have a plan. And every now and then, like a plan, it doesn't always work right. But you can always revert back to we know what we're supposed to do, and it takes the guesswork out of it. So with financials, whether you have a full house or a single house, there's a lot of ways that you can do to have a plan that works for you, and kind of check it every now and then. As we approach year end, we look at our benefits. It's a good time to take a step back and say, what am I doing right? What have I done so well already? Utilize this great benefit. Seek out information like today's session. Saving for an emergency. This is a timeless cornerstone of having a good financial plan, and a year like 2020 has been a good reminder. And it really is that emergency fund. If you have one, congratulations. You're doing a great job. There's an overwhelming majority of our population that does not have $1,000 on hand for an unexpected emergency. And those are the obstacles that we meet in our lives that make things a lot harder. So the better you can understand your plan and have an emergency savings taken care of, the more insulated you are from the ups and downs. And then don't underestimate yourself. Again, you're doing a great job. This doesn't have to be rocket science. If you are someone that wants to study the market and understand what a large cap blend fund is versus an intermediate term bond fund, fantastic. We have the resources. If that last sentence was very painful, we have options as well, including professional, guided,
Like,
personalized
is
management.
that Greek or what language is that?
It's tough. Sometimes being in my shoes, I take it for granted that, oh, it's a large cap blend fund. And for folks, they're just like, what did you just say?
That's
So
how we feel about like nutrition stuff. So we totally get it. We totally get it.
It's just like nutrition. It's like you understand. All right, you taught me how to read the nutrition label. I wish you hadn't. I wish you hadn't. But
Exactly.
but when we can make more informed, educated decisions about what we want, it just enables us to be happier and be more confident that we're making our future a priority. So with
So Andrew, what I'm hearing you say is that there is no quick fix to becoming a millionaire?
there's not. I wish there was. So what I've found in my career, and I'm still working on this, is that there are three main ways to accumulate wealth in this world. The first is to inherit it. So if you happen to be a Rockefeller, congratulations, I am not. And I'll be lucky if there's anything besides a pile of debt waiting for me when that time comes. So again, that's option one. Option two is to invent something that everyone needs. So if you have the next great idea and you want a smiling face to help you out, give me a call. But I'm not the guy that has that next electric car or girl or you name it. Option three is to save it. And it really is, there are plenty of books out there that I thought younger in my life were silly. And now after being in the industry for 12 plus years, saving is the sure, fast way to get there. When you get to retirement, 83% of your balance will be directly attributed to your savings rate. The rest is the recipe of the pie, the stocks versus bonds versus all that other stuff. And really picking one investment over the other is about 2%. So your input, you are in the driver's seat when it comes to your financial success. If there is a fourth way, I will share it. It'll be in a book, and I will then be more into option two where I've invented something everyone needs. But it's tough. I wish there was a better answer.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with health. So we get it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I love that at the beginning, Andrew, you talked about, the volatility, of the economy and the market right now, but to hold steady, just hold steady, because that you will still be successful long term. So even with the fluctuations in the market and whatnot, because I do hear a lot of people talking about that. And I think from a woman's perspective, sometimes we let other people do that for us. And I think it's really important as a woman to really take the lead with your finances. And we're all really smart, intelligent women, and life is really unpredictable. And I think there's lots of different reasons we should take care of our own finances, but learn about your options, learn about, all those articles, Andrew, are fantastic. And I plan to go and read them, and I haven't read them, but go seek those out and use those calculators. And, because you could be married, you could be divorced, you could be single, you could have, not even be there, you could be 20 years old. It matters what you do with your money at all of these different ages too, right, Andrew? And I think, and another point you made was it's never too late, right? So if you feel like you're behind the 8 ball or your circumstances have changed dramatically, you can still be successful financially long term, putting in a little bit of effort, right?
Absolutely. And we can really wrap up on that, Holly. I appreciate it. On your 401k portal, the first thing, profile, that's where you would go to update your beneficiaries. It comes right up as your second option over here. This is just our hypothetical Jake Walter. He's not a real person. But that planning, again, there's a million ways to find the information. Part of my role at Fidelity is to do guided walkthroughs with folks. So I know we've been in talks of setting up time for me to have one-on-one days available through Lenovo Benefits. But here is my information. I am based in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle, so not in Georgia, but that's compliance again. Here's my email address. Here's my phone number. If you're looking for someone to help you point in the right direction, Fidelity has a ton of resources. This planning tab right here is the last thing I'll show. And don't be a stranger. There's so much here. Plan for retirement, plan for college, plan for something else, get an investment strategy. But these are ways to help take the guesswork out of where you want to be and take control of your future. So again, we're here to help. Reliable information. There might be articles out there say get rich quick. There might be articles out there say red wine's healthy like cold pressed carrot juice, but verify the source. Verify the source. And we're one of those sources that can really help you out.
Andrew, just another shout out too to Fidelity. We have Fidelity with our employer, and I use their app pretty frequently. It's super user friendly. It's super easy. Like all your documents can be uploaded. Like it's also really easy if I know like living in Chicago, I was commuting a lot. So like having the ease of being able to be on my phone and manage my finances was super convenient when I was doing that.
That's
awesome.
always great feedback to hear, Kim. Your Fidelity has been proud of being a technology leader for a long time. There actually is a new app out too, Spire, S-P-I-R-E, which has even more calculators. It's wonderful. So I would encourage folks to check it out.
That's
also
awesome.
Your customer service is outstanding, but I could rave about Fidelity all day long.
I mean, I can't hide that I'm going to start blushing. I mean, gosh.
That's awesome. So some really good information here, everybody. I think, bottom line is be informed, talk to somebody at Fidelity about where you are right now in your life, what your circumstances are, what your options are, how you want to invest your money, if you want to invest it in different areas, all that sort of thing. So utilize the website, the articles specifically written for women, the Q&As for women. I think all of this is such good information. Andrew, thank you so much for sharing this. But with that, I think we're going to have to close this out. And next year when we do this, we're going to, I think, make these separate sessions so that we can really delve into the meat of all of these areas, because there's really so much for women specifically. There's so much from a health perspective. There's so much from a physical health and a mental health perspective, and financial health, which we think is super important for us too, because they're all combined, right? So thank you to all of our panelists. I think Angie may have had to jump, Angie and Katie may have had to jump here, but we are super thankful to have had them on. Andrew, thank you. Sharon, thank you so much. We appreciate you and everything that you've provided to us. Everybody on the call, please don't forget that there are 5 handouts that you can download from this webinar. If there's any questions that we didn't get to, or anything that you want asked or information, please either send us a chat. We will answer all of your questions. We will get back to you. You are welcome. We're getting some thank yous. You're so welcome. Bye. Yes, goodbye to all of my Will friends. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a great day. We will see you next time on Coffee with the Coaches.
Bye.